Alright guys, well it's finally time to talk about Le Duc. The Le Duc. What a beautiful knife. There it is, in all its glory. This thing has been around my neck for a while now. I actually had this about 2 or 3 weeks before I first even showed it on camera, which was months ago. So this thing is, it's been my companion for a very long time, right after the companion was my companion. Now, I have to warn you that because I carried the companion before this and the blade steel is much better quality, I felt a little disappointed by the edge retention on this. This one sports a 8CR14 MOV stainless, and it's on the soft side, so it doesn't stay sharp forever. Unlike the companion, felt like it stayed sharp forever. Not really a fair comparison because it's apple to oranges. I mean, they're both fruit, but hey, one could taste a lot better depending on your preference. So yeah, the steel isn't the best. However, the price reflects that as well. These things sell for 24 bucks on Amazon. There is an orange version of this. It's the same knife, same setup, everything's identical except the fact that our handle is a bright international orange color. Okay, like brighter than that. Super nice bright orange. Now what's cool about that to me is I'm thinking, deer season started not too long ago, bow season anyway for deer, and I've seen some hunters and talked to them a little bit, and I was just thinking that'd be a really cool option for a hunter to have underneath, your layers of clothing. Maybe not your main knife. You're not going to skin a deer or anything like that with this, or whatever animal you're hunting. But it's a really cool, really awesome backup, especially if you're this guy that's up in a tree stand. Even if you have a nice fixed blade on you, maybe it's a little bit hard to get when you're sitting, whatever, I don't know. You don't want to make a bunch of noise. Who knows, maybe your fixed blade comes with a sheath that has a big patch of Velcro holding it in. I would imagine if you're up in a tree stand hunting, you don't want to make noises like, so the slight, click from the sheath opening with this retention, it's much more quiet. So I don't know, just an option. It's just kind of something that, something I thought of. The orange version would be awesome for hunters. Okay, just my opinion. But anyway, so let's see what this thing came with. Here was the box. Outdoor Edge. I've used Outdoor Edge knives for a little while now. I'm very happy with them. The first one I was ever exposed to was the Brush Demon, and the Brush Demon is a very cool fixed blade. Actually, recently, if you guys saw my Battle Box unboxing, there was another version, the Sawback Bowie, I think, something like that. It was basically the same design, just with a nice sawtooth back or spine on there. So, so far, really digging the Outdoor Edge stuff. I also did a review on the knife. I think it was the EDC Lite, something like that, where it had the interchangeable blades too. So anyway, it's paperwork that came with Le Duc. Actually, there you go. There's all the specs. If you want to read that, 3 ounces. All right, 2.5-inch blade, 6.25 overall. I'll pause. You can pause it there, pause it there, pause it there. You could read all that. So I carried it in this configuration. This is the cord that came with it. Worked out fine. Originally, when I did the setup, I thought that this would bug me pushing against the chest, or I thought it would spin and twist and move. Totally fine, absolutely fine. All right, and if you want to adjust it, having it set up like this makes it easy. Just basically push this down, pull the cords out. You can make it smaller, but of course you can wrap this through the sheath. You see the different eyelets on there. All right, so you can configure that any way you want, as well as just basically looping this through your pant loop. You know what I'm saying? You can keep this whole thing in your pocket, and then you can reach to your pocket. Let's see. Let me show you what that would look like, kind of, without holding my pocket. So this is looped to your belt loop on your pants, right? Cargos, pants, or jeans, whatever you have. And this just sits literally right in the pocket. So you dip in. As you're pulling it out, you unlock it, okay? And then the length will pull it right out of the sheath there, so you can draw it. All right, and actually, if you practice that just a couple times, I'm sure you'd be surprised at how fast that draw would really be. Let's talk about the sheath system itself and this retention. All right, now what I first liked about this knife is the fact that there is a separate piece here that keeps the retention on this knife, as opposed to being pressure fit in like I don't know, 99.9% of every other neck knife I've ever used. I've never seen a system like this before. I never had a problem with it getting loose on standard sheaths. It really depends on the shape of where the handle is inside the sheath, especially where the blade is. This whole area right here will determine how hard or easy it is going to be getting in and out of the sheath. All right, and I can maybe talk about that in a future video, talking about kydex and common problems and stuff like that, because a lot of people, they'll actually reheat it and refit it after a long period of time using it. Every time you get a brand new knife, I mean, it always fits great, or usually fits great, but you know, as you use things over and over and over and over and over again, eventually they get loose. And Kydex is kind of one of those things. This is, I don't believe this is actual Kydex, I don't really know, but anyway, instead of having that form fit, they have a little kind of slanted nub here, you can see on both sides. All right, and as this comes up, actually, let me show you the inside of this. You can see there's a little notch. Well, you can imagine, maybe you can see, there we go. There's a little notch on both sides, right? And because it's kind of ramped up, as you're pushing this up, oh, try to go a little slower. It's, oh, I guess you can't go slow. It's kind of like a detent in a folding knife, if you can imagine it like that, okay? As you're pushing up, it's climbing that ramp and eventually snapping into place, okay? And because it's on both sides, it actually retains in a really, really good fashion, okay? This thing does not want to come out. Doesn't matter how hard you swing that around. Some people may see it as a disadvantage for defense, okay? Oh no, someone's attacking you, you need to get your knife, you need to defend your life, right? Well, instead of just grabbing it and pulling it out, well, now you gotta hit that with the thumb. I don't see that as a big deal. If anything, you can argue that it's better that it retains, kind of like how a duty holster, like a safari holster, would retain your gun. You know, different points of retention could be good if someone tries to grab it. I've heard that a lot of times with people, like, dude, you carry a knife right in your neck. What if someone comes right up to you and grabs your knife, pulls it out, and stabs you with it? Well, obviously I would try to avoid that particular situation the best I can. Is it possible? I guess, yeah. I don't see why that would happen, but yeah, of course, if I got into a confrontation or something, someone could attempt to grab my knife, whether it was in your pocket, in your neck, it's just kind of, or around your neck, the center of mass like that. It's convenient for people to see, it's openly seen, and someone may have the gall, if you will, to go for it. And tugging on it normally is not going to open that. But in an emergency situation, if you reach down and grab that and tugged on it, it will open for you. Okay, so I want people to know that that could be good or bad. It could be good in your sense that, oh no, you know, with stress you forget to hit that. Well, whatever, it's going to override it and it's going to pull out. Or you can see it like a negative, where if someone wants to grab your knife, no, it's not really retaining it that well. So, you know, 6 to 1, half dozen the other. The retaining system, I like the idea of it. I think it's pretty cool, but it does add an extra step. Admittingly, it's just an extra thing that you don't necessarily want to have to do. Haven't found it to be a problem at all. Getting the knife back in the sheath has actually been pretty easy. I'm just, you know what, it's like anything else. Once you start using it or doing something, it becomes more easy to you. When I first got this and first started wearing it, it was weird. It was weird to me. And there were plenty of times where I tugged and went, oh, why isn't my knife coming out? Oh, that's right, I gotta hit this thing. You know what I mean? So just something to consider. I'm kind of neutral on it. I like it. I like that it's cool. I like that it's different. I do like the design. It's innovative. But hey, if I, you know, obviously other knives I'm gonna use in the future, they're not gonna have that, and I'm not gonna miss it. Put it that way. But it is pretty interesting, pretty cool. But the biggest point I want to make is you can override that with a good enough tug. Okay, just so you know. Actually, we can leave it out of the sheath now. So yeah, there's the sheath. As far as the knife itself, it's very comfortable. As I mentioned in a previous video, for me anyway, I get a perfect 3-finger grip with that pinky resting on the outside of the duck head. If you didn't notice, it's called the duck because it has a profile of a duck. People correct me on that. I said, there's the duck beak. And they're like, oh, excuse me. A duck has a bill. Other birds have a beak. I looked that up and I found out they're interchangeable. It may be more common to say a duck has a bill, but bill, beak, it's the same thing, believe it or not. Anyway, so there's its eye, there's its misshapen head, but there's the duck. That's where they get the duck name, okay? Your fingers lock in really, really well here. I like how our edge comes all the way down to the bottom. All right, so it's a very usable edge. And even though it's razor sharp right there, because you have this deep sweeping shape right there, when your fingers lock in, even with my chunky fingers, I'm not cutting myself, okay? I have full grip on this dozens and dozens of times since I've had it. Most times when I grab this, I will grab it like this. You can of course grab it more of a natural grip. I have yet to grab it in a stabbing motion. No reason to stab anything, but you know, just in playing with it, it does feel very comfortable, okay? But yeah, ergonomics are very good. This is a rubbery overmold okay, to the knife itself. So it's just comfortable. It's easy to hold. I like the design. I think aesthetically it looks nice. Some people might not like, they totally think it's ugly just because of this big bulbous thing on the bottom. Like, what is that, right? I enjoy it. It's pretty cool. It's different. I like things that are different and unique. Obviously, the eye of Le Duc, it works as a lanyard hole. So you could put a big old fat piece of cord through there if you wanted to. It's an oversized lanyard hole, which is nice. There's actually a stainless insert in there. All right, so if you do put a lanyard on here and you start tugging around, it's not going to start messing with this overmold. There is very purposeful jimping on our spine here. A really good run of it too. A lot of times when you have jimping, it's just a little, inch or inch and a half. This looks to be, almost 2 inches. It's just a really good run. So anywhere your thumb happens to land on here, it grips very nicely and is quite sharp and aggressive. You can see those finer points there. All right. You see our flat ground blade. Interesting shape here. It's kind of a, subtle tanto, with a smooth transition, which gives you a nice belly there, which slices amazingly. All right, and also a nice fine point in here as well. Okay, can't tell you how often I actually use the point of a knife. Right, not just the edge, but that point. So certain designs look very cool, but when they lack a point, it's something I always notice because eventually I end up using it and I go, oh yeah, this thing doesn't have a good point. I mean, when you're cutting into, let's say, a box, generally speaking, if this table, well, let's use our paper here. If this paper here was the top of the box, right? Let's say here's where it's taped together or something. You don't generally hold the edge of the knife on the box and try to slice it. All right, that's an uncommon practice. What does everyone do? We take the tip of our knife. What did I say? Nice? Our nice knife. And usually we pierce the box and then rip all the way across. That's how most people cut open things. Okay, they're not just putting the edge on there. You get that tip and you tear it. Okay, either you're piercing it completely and then cutting across, or you're just using the tip as a guide and dragging it across. But no matter how you look at it, we use our tip when we're cutting open boxes and most things we're cutting, generally speaking, okay? But more specifically, packages and stuff. I think the common person who has an EDC knife, pretty much everyone opens boxes. You know what I mean? What if you do something specifically like a cutting chore at work because of your occupation, that's different. But generally speaking, everyone cuts open boxes and mail and stuff like that. So just something I noticed, and I've talked about this before too, but especially if you're cutting up a box, just a quick tip, nothing to do with this knife, but you can use your finger as a guide. So again, let's say pierce into the box, your finger actually stops the penetration. All right, so when you're cutting through, it'll only be as deep as your finger to the tip is. It's a great way to open a box so that you do not, cut whatever's inside, especially if you're opening something, that has liquids in it or something fragile, especially clothing. All right, that's a big tip too. I've accidentally cut through shirts and stuff like that years and years and years ago, just because I dug my whole blade in there and tried ripping open the box. I'm like, oh damn it, I cut what was inside. Don't want to do that. So anyway, back to Le Duc. I really like it. It's nice. It's very lightweight. If you're wearing a neck knife to begin with, you probably don't mind getting a little bit of attention. It is an attention getter. Okay, so big warning, warning, warning. Neck knives draw attention. Who would have thunk? But for some reason, this one drew more attention than any of them that I've ever worn. And it's probably just due to this big, fat, chunky handle, I guess. So, if you don't want attention, definitely not the knife for you. But yeah, I do like it quite a bit. I think it's pretty damn cool, but it is now being retired, only to make way for other neck knives. I have some more that I want to review in the future. Plus I have old ones I want to revisit. I want to go back to that companion, which I really, really love. The Browse Silent Soldier, a neck knife I love. I have a few of them, and just going through some old stuff, I want to kind of revisit those. So this has had its heyday, and I do love it. I do highly recommend it. Like I said before, the orange one I think would be really cool for hunters, or just visibility in general. If you're someone walking down a trail, hiking, whatever, if you, God forbid, you lost your knife, a very important tool, it'd be easier to find. So that's another thing. You don't necessarily have to be hunting, but if you're in the woods, period, the orange handled version would be better for you. So if you want to, say, carry a neck knife for trekking or mountain biking or who knows what, yeah, maybe you want to go with the orange one as opposed to the brown, which is going to be camouflaged, especially like now in the fall. So anyway, there's my review on Leduc for the $24 price tag this thing carries. It's worth every penny. It's very cool, it's very unique. It gets attention if that's what you want. Or, you know, even if you don't want attention, it's convenient. You don't necessarily have to have it on the outside of your shirt, especially now where I am in colder climates. You're layering, you're wearing jackets, you can very covertly wear a neck knife. You know, if you need to get to it quickly, zip, just zip down your hoodie. Well, assuming you have a jacket or something, or a hoodie with a zipper down the middle, it's not a pullover. But, you know, zip it down and pull it out, and it's right there. It's very convenient. I also highly recommend neck knives in general for when you're in the car. Let's say you don't want to carry a neck knife, but if you just keep one in the car, when you get in the car, if you put it on just for your drive, I know it may sound silly, but hey, some people wear driving gloves. Some people have driving shoes. They literally change their shoes to driving shoes when they're driving. Yeah, generally speaking, that's not to commute to work. People who do that usually have race cars and you know, sports cars and stuff. But it's a thing, so I'm mentioning it. You can definitely have a car knife, and there's nothing better than a neck knife for in the car. You're in a sitting position. It may not be easily accessible to you know, to get to your pockets and stuff like that. So I happen to have a knife hangling. What is that? Dangling and hanging. It's hangling. So feel free to use that word I just made up. It hangs or dangles from my rearview mirror. Okay, and although I think technically that's illegal in many states, no one cares. It doesn't draw any attention or anything, but it's convenient. It's right there. Boom, I got it. So between my neck knife and that, when I'm in the sitting, Jesus, I can't talk. When I'm in the sitting position in the car, I can access all kinds of blades. So very convenient. So with that, I will go, since I'm losing my ability to speak properly. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you for the patience. I know a lot of people want to see this review, but you know, like everything else, I got to get the use on it. And some things I just use more than other things, but the things I really like, they tend to hang around a long time before I actually do reviews on them, because I like them and I just want to keep using them. I don't want to stop using them. Once I do a review, it gets put away, put in a drawer, whatever, and I got to move on to new stuff. So I was kind of hanging on to this one because I didn't want to move on, but it's time. It's time to move on from Leduc. So thanks for your time, as always. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.